My name's Ethan Calder. 25 work mostly freelance video editing gigs. Sometimes pour overcomplicated coffee orders just to keep the rent gods appeased. I'm not exactly who people picture when they think of someone with a vendetta. I don't slam doors, don't break things, and I definitely don't raise my voice. I do, however, remember everything, like the sound of my mom's voice when she told me I'd be walking her down the aisle, or rather told me not asked. It was said like a favor to me, like, "Don't worry, you'll be part of the story again." And I smiled, nodded. I even said something like, "Sure if you want." But that's not what I meant. Not really. The rehearsal was last Thursday. I showed up late, coffee in one hand, camera bag slung over my shoulder like I was just some intern dropping by. The venue was one of those rustic chic barns they light up with Edison bulbs and overpriced hope. My mom saw me walk in and clapped her hands together like I was 8 again and had just remembered Mother's Day. "Ethan, there you are." Yeah, there I was. They went over the order. Bridesmaids here, groomsmen there, flower girl walks. Pause. And then, it's me, walking her. Like a son, should she said, eyes wet, voice performative. I didn't correct her, didn't say a thing. But something about standing behind her, watching her rehearse that slow, deliberate step down the aisle, unlocked a memory I hadn't planned on remembering. "A real wedding?" My dad's. "Well, their wedding." His shaky voice during vows, my mother barely 20. My grandmother crying, and me later watching that grainy VHS copy while holding on to a teddy bear with one eye missing. He was erased like a footnote. And now she wanted me to smile through the rewrite. So before you sit back and listen, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the Final Revenge channel, but only if you really like what I have to say here. Now get in the mood to listen to this story because it might be the ultimate sweet revenge. You shuffle into the rehearsal dinner, still chewing the memory of her voice, how she said, "Like a son should." That phrase keeps echoing in your chest, like someone threw a pebble into a deep well. You sit at the far end of the table, the one with the squeaky chair in view of the door. Always good to have an exit strategy. Across from you is him, Gregory or Greg, depending on whether you're listening to the wedding invite or his golf buddies. Polished teeth, Rolex tan line, and that weird compulsion to end every sentence with a chuckle. Like he knows he's not funny, but someone once told him confidence is charm. You fake smile as he lifts a glass. "Soon to be son," he says, like it's a prize you didn't enter to win. You raise your drink, don't clink. Mom's sitting beside him, holding his arm like she's tethered to a yacht in a storm. Her eyes flicker to you, some mix of pride and pleading. You don't blink. You just keep chewing your food like it's your only defense. Someone cracks a joke about Ethan finally joining the happy family. You laugh. Dry. One note. The kind that says, "Sure, if this is your idea of happy." But here's the thing. It's not about Greg. Greg is a symptom. A side effect of years of cover stories and self-serving rewrites. No, this was about the slow erasure of your dad. The way his photos got fewer every year. The way stories turned vaguer. "We had different dreams," she once said. You were 13 when you stopped asking about him. 25 when you realized you'd been gaslit into silence. Back at your apartment that night, you opened the storage closet. Dust. Dented boxes. And finally, at the bottom, like a relic of something once sacred, you find it. Your dad's old Sony Handycam. You sit on the floor, fingers brushing the grip. Flip the LCD screen open. Insert a tape. You hit play. And there he is. Real, alive, laughing at some joke you told off camera, calling you champ, saying he loves you with a voice that doesn't tremble until the end. And just like that, the room gets quieter, the past less blurry, and the version of the story you've been fed starts to rot in real time. She wants you to walk her down the aisle, but now you're walking backward through memories, through tape, hiss, through the raw footage of who you used to be. Word count, in new 93. Waiting for continue. You said, continue. ChatGPT said, part 3. You sit in front of your laptop for hours that night, the blue glow making the room feel colder than it is. The Handycam's tapes spill out around you like a shrine. A few are labeled birthday, 06 fishing trip, Xmas morning. Most are blank, or so she thought. You digitize the footage, clip by clip, frame by frame. And you start to remember things you weren't supposed to. Like how your dad always looked at your mom even when she wasn't looking. How he used to film her dancing in the kitchen, not just you. How his voice would rise in pitch when he was tired, but didn't want you to worry. Then the tone shifts. Around the tape marked spring. It starts with silence, then static, then a single sentence. I don't know what else to do, Annie. You pause the tape. Rewind. Play it again. That was his voice. That was your mom's name. But it wasn't soft like before. It was cracked, clipped. Tired in a way you recognize now, even if you didn't then. You keep listening. She thinks I'm the problem. But it's him. She says it's not emotional. She says it's practical. Him. You rewind. Again. The next sentence is nearly drowned by wind through the mic. Greg's not just her friend. You sit back. Cold climbs your spine like an old fear returning for the rent. You've seen this story told in movies, online, posts, podcasts. But when it's your story, your mom, your dad, and your future stepfather, it's not drama. It's disorientation. Your mother didn't just replace your father. She rehearsed it. And you walked through it like an extra in someone else's romance. You reach for another tape. This one, no label. You slide it in. The image glitches, then stabilizes. Your dad bags under his eyes, sitting in your old living room. He talks directly into the lens. If anything happens, I hope he treats Ethan right. Even if he won't know the whole truth. Click. The footage cuts off. That night, you lie in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the line. Even if he won't know the whole truth. Too late, Dad. Now I do. You spend the next morning in a sort of autopilot fugue. Shower. Cereal. Watch condensation slide down your mug instead of answering messages from your mom. There are 4. All cheerful, all shallow. Can't wait to see your face tomorrow. Don't forget your suit. Greg wants to talk with you about a fun idea for the ceremony. You're the best son a mom could ask for. That last one sticks in your throat like a fishbone, because it's exactly what someone says when they need you to cooperate, not when they mean it. You open your editing software, drag the footage in. Not the slideshow she asked for. The other footage. Your dad's voice. The clips that tell the version she doesn't want played at a wedding. And quietly, without fanfare, you begin to cut. No dramatic music. No slow fades. Just the truth layered gently like dust settling. Clip 1. Your father laughing on your 7th birthday. Holding a cake. The camera wobbles as he pans to your mom. She's smiling, but her eyes already look distant. Like her mind's elsewhere. The kind of look you never noticed before. The kind of look you now can't unsee. Clip 2. An argument caught by accident, recorded when the camera was left on the couch. Your mom's voice sharp, defensive. It's not what you think, she says. And your dad soft. Then explain it to me. You lower the audio levels just enough so the anger doesn't scream. You let it linger instead. Steady. Inevitable. Clip 3. You as a kid, watching them from the staircase. Nobody knew you were filming too. By lunchtime you have a rough timeline. It's not a revenge video. Not exactly. It's just the story. The real one. The version no one asked for because it doesn't look good on a slideshow next to champagne flutes and flower arches. You call the folder reality. Not clever. Not dramatic. Just accurate. And then you save it twice. One copy on your hard drive. One on a flash drive labeled, "For the ceremony." You stare at the flash drive for a long time, then tuck it into the inside pocket of your suit jacket. You're not walking her down the aisle. You're walking the truth into the room. The day before the wedding, she calls again. Her voice is sugar-coated urgency. "Hi, sweetie, just checking in. Don't forget to practice your speech, okay? And remember, we'll walk slowly, arm in arm, just like we did for that 2nd grade talent show. Remember that." You also remember her missing your middle school play because Greg had a thing. You remember her face after your dad's funeral? Dry eyes, tight smile, already disengaging like someone changing the channel during a sad movie. You let her talk. Let her imagine the version of you she wants. The son who forgets. Who forgives without being asked. Who walks women down aisles because he's told to. You say sure and hang up. Then you open a new project. This one isn't for the guests. It's for you. You pull together the footage your father filmed of himself, direct-to-camera clips where he talks like he's writing a letter to the future. Your future. There's one moment brief underlit where he says, I don't know what Ethan will remember, but I hope he knows I loved him more than anything. You don't cry, but your hands pause on the keyboard, a subtle tremor in your fingertips. Then you keep editing. You add no transitions, no background music, no embellishment. Just him, just the man they erased. You render it, label it Ethan Utch only, and transfer it to your private drive. Then just as you're closing the project, you catch sight of something odd in a freeze frame. The background. You enhance, lean in. Greg, sitting on your old porch steps, with your mom, 3 months before your father died. You stare at the time code. It doesn't make sense, because that wasn't after the divorce. It was during. You check another tape, and another, same man, same timeline, and now the timeline breaks. Not only had she rewritten the past, she'd overlapped it. And suddenly not walking her down the aisle isn't just about dignity. It's about truth. You wake up on the wedding day with a stillness in your chest that almost feels like peace. Not calm, not clarity. Just no more decisions to make. The suit's hanging on your closet door like it belongs to someone else. You stare at it while sipping the same coffee you've made 1,000 mornings before. Only this time it tastes like purpose. You slip the flash drive into your inside jacket pocket and double-check it, breathe, and then you get in the car. The venue is dressed to the nines, white fabric floating like clouds. A pianist playing something from a streaming wedding playlist, standard fare for standard moments. The air smells like expensive flowers and forgotten fathers. You're not early but not late, just enough to avoid awkward questions. Your mom's in a room upstairs. Bridesmaids and hair people flurry around her like she's made of glass. But she lights up when she sees you. Oh, good. You're here. I was worried you might never mind. She hugs you. You let her. She smells like the perfume you used to spray on your teddy bear after she left for weekend trips with coworkers. Greg's down in the reception area, telling some joke to the catering staff. Probably the one about the steak at his last wedding. You head straight to the AV table. Just like you were assigned. Slideshow duty, someone jokes. You smile back, plug in the drive. They think it's the photo montage she requested. Baby pics. Awkward. Teen years, smiles that don't reach the eyes. You rename the file. Slideshow final. MP4. No one double checks. Time slides forward like a glass on an uneven table. Guests arrive. Programs handed out. You don't have one. And then, it's time. Music swells. People stand. The officiant waits at the altar. And your mom. She stands at the top of the aisle, alone, waiting, looking around, searching. For you. Continue. The air outside tastes different, cooler, sharper, like someone cracked open the truth and let it blow through the world for the first time in years. You sit on the stone bench just beyond the reception tent, the laughter of strangers muted to murmurs behind canvas walls. Someone drops a glass. No one claps. You hear murmurs shift from polite to puzzled to cutting. You don't turn around. You don't need to. The door to the tent creaks open. Heels click across the patio. Your mom appears. No wedding dress in sight now, just her robe thrown hastily over layers of makeup and discomfort. She doesn't sit next to you, just stands there, arms crossed. I asked you to be part of something important, she says. You blink slowly, staring forward. You did. I wanted this to be a new beginning. For who? She swallows that. Can't find a clean answer. You ambushed me. You shrug. You asked for a slideshow. That wasn't a slideshow. That was cruel. You finally look at her. Really look. The eyeshadow cracked from tears she didn't expect. The streaked foundation. The fury fresh but hollow. Cruel, you say. Quietly was letting a kid grow up thinking his dad stopped calling because he didn't care. She flinches. It's subtle but real. And letting Greg play Father of the Year while pretending he hadn't been around long before the ink dried. Silence. She finally exhales. We were young. Things weren't simple. They were simple to him. She opens her mouth to argue, but then just once she closes it. You stand. I'm not here for apologies. Just clarity. She nods. Once. Slowly. You have it now. You slip your hands into your pockets. Fingers brushing the flash drive. Yeah, you say, walking past her back toward your car. So does everyone else. You drive without music? Not out of brooding cinematic effect, but because silence suddenly feels like the most honest thing in the world. Somewhere between the venue and your apartment, your phone buzzes. Messages flood in, some from cousins you haven't spoken to since high school, others from distant relatives who watched the truth unravel between shrimp cocktails and white linen. One reads, "You did the right thing. Your dad would be proud." Another just says, "Well, damn." You don't respond. Not yet. Back at your place, the quiet feels less like absence and more like aftermath. You set your suit jacket down carefully, the flash drive still nestled in the pocket like a detonator you've already used. You open your laptop, scroll through your email. One new subject line from Greg. "We need to talk." You don't open it. You don't need to. Instead, you go back to your private project, the one labeled Ethan nor only. You rewatch the last clip. Your dad sitting on the couch holding a cup of coffee like it's anchoring him to the moment. "I don't know if you'll ever get this, but I had to try. I couldn't just disappear. Not without leaving something behind." You pause the video, not because it hurts, though it does, but because there's power in knowing the truth. Knowing you were never the villain in her story, even if she wrote you that way. You spend the rest of the evening clipping new footage, adding voiceover. Not for revenge, not for spectacle, just a correction, a reclamation. That night, you sleep for the first time in weeks, without waking up in the middle of a memory you don't trust. And when morning comes, it's clear. You're not the kid who got erased anymore. You're the narrator now. You wake to a text from Greg. "I'd appreciate a conversation, man to man." You stare at the words, imagining the performative integrity behind them. The kind that hides behind a handshake and cologne you could smell 3 rooms away. You type back one word, "Sure." No smiley, no period. Just enough to imply you're willing, not eager. You meet him at a downtown cafe, the kind with too many Edison bulbs and an espresso machine loud enough to drown out half-truths. You spot him in the corner wearing the same blazer from the rehearsal dinner. His tie is gone. His smile, too. "Ethan," he says, standing like it's a court deposition. You sit without shaking hands. He doesn't waste time. You could have just asked. You arch a brow. Would you have answered? A pause. Then a sigh. Probably not. Honesty. Points for that. Greg runs a hand through his hair, leans in like you're conspirators. "Your mother and I... It wasn't like what you think." "Then what was it?" He stares at his black coffee like it might hold the script. "We were friends. I supported her when things got bad with your dad." You laugh softly like someone who's just been offered a beach umbrella during a hurricane. Supported her. You were in the tapes, Greg. Before the bad. While she was still pretending. He winces. Like the truth has teeth. You embarrassed her. No, you say, sipping your coffee. She did that. I just gave everyone context. You both sit in the silence. After a minute, he shifts tone. "Look, I care about her. I want to make things work. But if you're going to be in our lives, I'm not." You cut in. He blinks. "I'm not going to be in your lives, Greg. You can keep your version, just don't expect me to play the son in it." You leave your half-full cup on the table and walk out. Not angry. Just free. Your mother calls again that night. You let it go to voicemail. You don't need to hear her try to recast the story in softer lighting. You already know the pattern: remorse measured in teaspoons followed by a hopeful rewrite. Instead, you pull out the old tapes again. Not the heavy ones. Not the confessions. Just the ones where nothing happens. Grocery runs. You learning to ride a bike? The sound of your dad humming while sorting tools in the garage. It's strange how the quiet moments carry more weight now. Because they were real, not curated, not photoshopped for holiday cards. Just people existing, loving, failing. The next morning, you get a letter. A real one. In the mail. The return address. Your mom's. Inside a card. White. Simple. The handwriting is unfamiliar at first, neater than usual. It reads, "Ethan, I'm sorry. Not for the video, not for your truth. But for mine. I should have told you years ago. He loved you. I knew that. I tried to protect you from the mess, but maybe what I really did was protect myself. You deserved better. Love, Mom." No tears come. Just that same stillness. You tuck the letter into the folder with the tapes. not out of sentimentality, out of record keeping. The truth you've learned is only powerful if you don't lose it again. Later that week, you get an email from the venue's coordinator. Would you be willing to share your presentation? We've never seen something so honest. It made people talk, reflect, cry. You smile. You respond. No, but thank you. Because it wasn't for them. It was for you. And your dad? And the boy with the camera who knew more than he was supposed to. It starts slowly, like all shifts in gravity do. An email from your cousin asking to see the footage again. A message from your aunt saying, "We never really knew what happened. Thank you." Even an old teacher from elementary school writes, remembering your dad walking you to class, always early, always smiling. You reply to none of them, not out of malice, but because some things are meant to land gently. You said what needed saying. Now you let it echo. You start editing a personal reel, not for anyone else this time. Just scenes that held space for you when no one else did. You layer in old audio, the garage door creaking open, your dad calling your name from the hallway, the shuffle of birthday wrapping paper. These sounds are anchors grounding you in a version of the world that once felt solid. Then comes the wedding photo, posted online by a distant family friend. The caption, "She walked herself down the aisle." A moment of strength. You scroll through the comments. Some offer praise. Some wonder where you were. Some say nothing at all. You don't correct the story. You already told your version. And the people who needed to hear it did. Your mom sends a follow-up text days later. Just a photo. Her and Greg on the beach. Her smile is real, but it's not for you. You put your phone down. Turn back to your screen. You adjust the timeline. Play one more clip. It's your dad filming the sunrise. No words. Just breath and birdsong and light creeping across the roof. You pause it mid-frame. Save the still. It becomes your desktop background. Not to haunt you, but to remind you what clarity looks like. What truth looks like when it's not framed in guilt. You walk past a wedding one weekend, just a random park ceremony. Strings playing something light and familiar. You don't stop, but you catch a moment. The bride walking alone down a grassy aisle. No one on her arm. Just her. And she's smiling. You don't know her. Don't need to. But there's something quietly powerful about her stride. Like she knows what she's choosing. Who she's choosing. It makes you wonder if your mom ever got that. A choice made without the need for correction or cleanup. Later at home, you open an old hard drive. Not the one with the edits. One from your dad's work files. You find a folder buried deep. Letters, Ethan. It's full of audio files. Letters he never mailed. Things he never got to say. I wish I could be there when he graduates. I hope he never stops being curious. I'm sorry I couldn't fix it. You listen to one each night. Not to wallow, but to remember the version of yourself you were allowed to be when love didn't come with footnotes. One night you record your own. It's just your voice, low and steady. "Hey, Dad. You were right. I grew up. I figured it out." You don't plan to play it for anyone. You don't even save the file. Just let it exist. Then delete. Because sometimes revenge isn't spectacle. It's survival. And survival means knowing you don't owe anyone your silence. The next time your mom texts, it's a photo of Greg holding a baby. No caption. You stare at it for a full minute. Then finally you reply, "Congratulations. I hope they get the full story." You hit send and close the thread forever. It's been months since the wedding. You no longer check your mother's socials. The algorithm caught on. You're fed hiking videos and nostalgic edits of 90s cartoons now. You let it. You've started digitizing other people's tapes, offering your editing skills to families who want their old footage turned into something meaningful. It's quiet work, patient, honest. One client brings in a box labeled Dad's Life. It feels familiar. You smile and say, "We'll make it right." You begin sleeping better. The weight that once sat on your chest like an invisible brick has shifted. Now it's just a pebble in your pocket. Still there, but not dragging you down. You meet someone new, a friend of a friend. She asks about your family and you don't flinch. You don't dive into the saga. You just say it's complicated and she says, "Same." You laugh, and it feels real. You visit your dad's grave on a quiet Thursday. No occasion, no flowers. You sit on the grass and talk, not out loud, not dramatically, just mentally filing updates like you used to when he was late from work. What you've been doing, what you've learned, what you're still unlearning. You whisper one thing aloud, though. Got it all on tape, Dad. And for once, the air doesn't respond with ache. It responds with peace. You stand, walk back to your car. No soundtrack, no dramatic exit. Just your own footsteps steady and sure. You're not haunted anymore. You're held by memory, by truth, by everything they tried to bury, but you brought back into the light. The offer comes out of nowhere. A local museum curating a stories from the camera exhibit. They're showcasing private footage, turned public narratives, the kind that shift perspectives and stir emotion. A mutual contact sends them your way. You think about it, long and hard, because some footage was never meant for crowds. Some truths aren't about justice, they're just about letting go. But then you remember that moment at the wedding when the screen lit up and silence fell. When time paused and people listened, you choose one clip, not the confrontation, not the confession, just your father alone filming a sunrise. You pair it with a caption, "Sometimes the truth is quiet, but we record it anyway." It premieres under soft gallery lights looping next to other stories, some tragic, some triumphant. All honest. A woman in her 60s stands in front of your display for a long time. She wipes her eyes. You don't introduce yourself. You don't need to. You've learned something important. Revenge isn't about applause. It's about rebalancing the story, even if the only one who claps is your inner child. You walk out of the gallery into dusk. Same color as that video. The streetlights hum. The air smells like petrichor. You smile, because this time no one's rewriting your story for you. You wrote it yourself. And you told the truth, even when no one wanted to hear it. The offer comes out of nowhere. A local museum curating a stories from the camera exhibit. They're showcasing private footage turned public narratives, the kind that shift perspectives and stir emotion. A mutual contact sends them your way. You think about it, long and hard, because some footage was never meant for crowds. Some truths aren't about justice, they're just about letting go. But then you remember that moment at the wedding when the screen lit up and silence fell. When time paused and people listened. You choose one clip, not the confrontation, not the confession. Just your father alone filming a sunrise. You pair it with a caption, "Sometimes the truth is quiet, but we record it anyway." It premieres under soft gallery lights looping next to other stories. Some tragic, some triumphant, all honest. A woman in her 60s stands in front of your display for a long time. She wipes her eyes. You don't introduce yourself. You don't need to. You've learned something important. Revenge isn't about applause. It's about rebalancing the story, even if the only one who claps is your inner child. You walk out of the gallery into dusk. Same color as that video. The streetlights hum. The air smells like petrichor. You smile, because this time no one's rewriting your story for you. You wrote it yourself, and you told the truth, even when no one wanted to hear it. So now you know. This wasn't about bitterness or making a scene or taking down a wedding in one dramatic click. It was about one person remembering, about choosing not to forget. Because when you grow up in someone else's version of reality, edited, reshot, scripted for comfort, you start to question your own eyes, your own memories, until something cracks, until a voice, your voice says, "No, this happened. I was there." And that's when the real revenge begins. Not with fire, not with shouting, but with footage, with proof, with refusing to let the truth be buried in favors and flowers. Ethan didn't destroy anything. He just pressed play, and in doing so gave a voice to the people we don't frame in family albums, the ones who got cut out before the reception. And maybe in watching this you remembered something too. Some silence that didn't sit right. Some story that felt unfinished. Good. Because that's how healing starts. Not with forgiveness, not even with closure. Just with honesty. Soft. Unavoidable. Real. So before you go, take a moment. Rewind something. Replay what hurt. Let it land without edits. And maybe tell your own story next. Gentle now. One breath at a time.